Thank you. You can't, Brad. You can't do that to me just as we're going live. I love the new hairstyle. That's awfully unkind. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase. Delighted to have on the beautifully hatted, and that is a verb that I've just invented. Beautifully hatted Brad from SMS Speedway. Brad, how the devil are you, sir? Looking magnificent.
Very well, thanks, Simon. Good to see you again. It's been a little while since we last spoke. It's been a very, very busy part of the industry at the moment. When lockdown, lifted, I think we've all been run off our feet, haven't we? And the message volumes have been very high and continue to remain high. There's no drop off in the run up to Christmas yet, which we'll normally see. So it's been busy, but we're very thankful to be busy. And it's great to be on the show.
Well, good. I'm delighted to have you. Obviously, as you said, we've known each other for more years than I can remember. Not that I can remember last week, but but we definitely have. Obviously, you were the main text message provider, obviously, with us in my old days at Repeat, and you dealt with some of the very largest. In fact, you deal with the very largest of all clients over there. So you know a thing about scale, you know a thing about a bit about communication. The clue's in the name, although it is a bit limiting, isn't it? Because, of course, SMS Speedway, you are not just about SMS, which don't ruin it. We're going to come to a little bit later. But what I like about it, Brad, is the fact that you are probably going to be one of the key litmus tests, aren't you, for activity in the industry? Because I'm guessing that if people are using your services a lot, that's showing a sign of activity and the bubbly nature of the business.
It does indeed. We tend to be about 6 months ahead of the curve. So, for example, when that financial crash happened, we saw it about 6 months before it even hit the headlines. And, we tend to see the pickups as well as the slowdowns, which is why it's with such great pleasure I can say that, we're still seeing consistent volumes, still consistent messages going through there. And of course, we have a very good data warehousing and reporting capability that allows us to extract that new oil. They say data is the new oil, and we can extract the value of that market intelligence from our records. And it still shows a continued uplift from obviously lockdown, which was quite hard for the industry.
Of course. Well, look, you get hitting me with all your buzzwords straight off. You hit me with Omnichannel earlier, and I love that. Omni communication, all that's fantastic. I tell you what, with that ability to predict, obviously, where the market's going, you should be all over spread betting with that kind of godsend knowledge. I might have a chat with you about that later. Nobody knows. We're okay there. Well, look, Brad. I mean, today the title of this, obviously, other than introducing you to our Kerfuffle members and the wider audience here, we're talking about unleashing the power of client communications. So, before we obviously dive into that in a little bit more detail, do you want to just give us a bit about your background and indeed the background of the business?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So the business, as you've alluded to, it's a business communications service. So, everyone these days has mobile phones. And as mobile phones have become more and more intelligent, people have their own preferred way of communication. Some people use WhatsApp, others prefer text messaging, others have, email. So we deliver the message across whatever the client's preferred method of communication is. We even have a text to voice service where if someone cannot use their phone, and there's a demographic that we serve, in the elderly population in particular, or people with disabilities, where they need some crucial information, our system can actually phone up and deliver it via voice. And all of that is branded. So if you're a big player that's, has multiple brands, we support that. And it has its own audio introduction, and we'll deliver that message to you. So we're cross-platform. We have intelligence built into the system, so no one wants to be spammed, right? We get enough spam every day. I've lost count of the number of deceased uncles who have left me 20 million I've received over the past few years.
you're mad, Brad. One of those could be a genuine nice fella.
It could be, yeah. I could have missed out here.
Yeah.
I could be in your league, Simon.
I'm still waiting for the Viagra ones. But anyway, we're getting off track now. Let's not go there.
That's too much of a hard sell, I'd say. So we've kind of got that whole global reach of the text messaging and the various other messaging applications. It's very important, actually, if you're more of an international player, to have this multi-channel reach, because in some places there's a lot of restrictions on something perhaps like text messaging or on some of the other applications. So you need to have that versatility built in. And one of the things that we bring to the table is the fact that we've got this huge investment in being able to serve the various sectors, cross-platform. If you're doing it yourself, you'd have to build all of that in, and that's one huge amount of R&D. With us, it's just a single integration, and off you go. We take care of it all, and we sense when people have read it, so we avoid that spam. And but then we've got 24 years experience in the industry. We were the first commercial text messaging company. We grew out of an internet company. In fact, Simon, you were one of our first signups, actually, back in the early days of 3 men and a dog repeat.
Look at that, ahead of the curve as ever. That's impressive. Great, yeah. Exactly.
You remember when I came up with the idea of the SMS appointment reminder, and we had a conversation around, would people in business ever want to have an appointment reminder on their phone? Took 3 years, but there we go. We got there.
You're absolutely right. Here you were changing the industry, but way before. I'll hold on to your coattails on that. I'll be putting that up on LinkedIn as a success story later on.
Good man.
I think that's the key, though, Bradley. Even back then, obviously, there are so many different providers out there, and you hear of such horror stories in terms of variability of customer service, letdowns, and things like that. The thing that I loved about you guys was that you just did what you said you were going to do. It was rock solid. It was reliable. You didn't get like some text message companies. You didn't get text messages being delivered at 3 a.m. because they've decided to kind of dispatch them on the cheapest possible channel.
Exactly.
That when you're dealing with this, you are at the front end of the agent's own brand, and if you mess up, then it rebounds back on them, and that just can't be. You can't have that, can you?
No. You're customer facing. You represent the customer's brand, to those clients out there. We do the mass communication, and because it's fully branded as a service, it feels as if it's from the client itself. They might be using us as a service, but it is representing that client, and you have to have the reliability. You need to have the, dare I say it, help desk. We're 100% British. We're based in the UK, and our staff work to UK times, and it is important. We global Britain and trades globally, but it is important to be able to talk to someone who understands your particular location in the world and is at work at the same time you are, and understands perhaps some of the idiosyncrasies of our very varied regional accents. Said the Antipodean talking to the Midlands boy.
Well, yeah, and there again, I was born in Kuwait, so that's how exotic I get. But
brilliant.
You are right, though. There's nothing worse than seeing sort of these call center operations that start, how did that football team of yours get on over the weekend? And it's like, you can actually see them reaching for the script line, can't you, as they struggle to deal with stuff. I tell you what I like, though, about it. You made that point a bit earlier about, look, this is about responding to people in the way that they want to be responded to. And there's a load of research that, we don't need to go into too much detail now, that shows that if you reach out to somebody, overwhelmingly, that's how you want people to respond back to you, isn't it?
You want it to be personalized, Simon. You're so right. And actually, we'll get on to what it means for business and workflow. But, if you're going to be driving your sales, if you're going to be progressing your business, then people need to understand that they are talking to humans, that's interactive. There's someone real there, which, of course, we empower either the business themselves or the partners they work with to do on their behalf. But by the same token, as we saw when lockdown lifted, there's this huge rush perhaps of leads that are coming in and sales inquiries in the first instance. And you need to have your ability to automate and to rapidly scale up. You know, we can do mass delivery, mass replies, and respond in an automated way with successful handoff back to your staff as well. So you want to leverage your IT systems, you want to leverage your communication to do that grunt work for the staff. So you're maximizing your staff's efficiency and giving that personal service. And by being able to customize through a mixture of having, you know, perhaps your CRM tie-ins and your automated reminders with the more ad hoc messages, people are able to log into either our own application or their in-house applications and do those personal communications in a two-way manner that are there and they're timely and they at the convenience of the client. Everyone wants convenience, right? We have Deliveroo, we've got, you know, we go to our Costa Coffees, and you know it's all about convenience. We order from Amazon. People want it there; they want it now, and you have to have that immediacy.
Yeah. The irony of you telling me that Bradley, as in about 20 minutes I'll start ordering my Deliveroo. If you see my eyes just go down for my lunchtime. Lunchtime order. But anyway, I tell you what really appeals to me though, and I'm probably we're jumping ahead of ourselves, but I'll forget if not. One of the things I loved, I couldn't obviously when I was at the aforementioned CRM company, we used to see a lot of clients who really struggled to get viewing feedback. You know, they would be forever chasing. The perception is from vendors, why haven't you got the feedback on, you know, from those people that did? Well, there is a growing proportion of people who refuse to answer their calls, you know, answer their phones to, you know, to ad hoc calls there, apart from when it's completely on their terms. What I loved about what you could do with people is using text messages and other tools there, reach out to those people, giving them a way of essentially getting that monkey off their back, but on their terms without having to talk to somebody. So yes, you could finally get the feedback from the people that have done it, and it might be something quick, succinct, and you know wasn't interested because it was too expensive, or you know the elevation, whatever the issue is. But that's that's where it really impresses me, the two-way nature of what you do.
Absolutely, yes. And if you think about it, who's your target market if you selling a property or renting out? Ideally, it's people who have jobs, they are busy people, perhaps they have families, you know, mum's doing a school run. You could be driving, it's not convenient to pick up a call. So you drop that call and then that call perhaps is missed. Whereas with a text message, it arrives in their pocket or perhaps a WhatsApp or you know some of the other channels. And then when they're at the school gate or when they're out of their meeting, they can quickly look at it on their phone, they can see it and they can respond. And of course, we've got the services to back that up as well. So they can respond, but you can perhaps be using our surveys service where you want to collect some data up front, or you want to find out what they thought about a particular viewing, or you know how you could do it. There's a wide range of using surveys. If you had someone doing it manually, then that takes up staff time. But you can automate it through us using our surveys, get that two-way interaction going, and then it hands off back to your staff in the back end, or perhaps if you're using AI chatbots or you know some of the outsourced services, it allows you to build that workflow in, but keep that two-way communication going, as you say. And because you've got that personalized service, that direct one-to-one customization on a mass scale, you know, so everyone feels special. That's good for your brand. That's good for your business. That's good for driving your sales.
Absolutely. So give us, you know, in terms of the history of the company, and indeed the kind of scale of the and how you started working with. What's your client base like? How did you start working with these businesses?
Well, the text messaging part of the business grew out of a general internet company that did a wide range of things from you know, web hosting and email services and DNS and all the rest of that good stuff, the plumbing of the internet. And we saw the opportunity to connect software, first of all, our own, through to mobile phones, and we saw the utility of it. Back in the day, everyone said, "Oh, text messaging is just for kids. No one's ever going to use it." You'll never want a bank sending anything to their clients via text message, right? But we saw the utility of it because it's in people's pockets, and basically we were led by the market. That was the fastest growing part of the business. People wanted that service. So we've always been innovating. We've always tried to look ahead. So, for example, being able to deliver property brochures and property presentations to someone who's perhaps interested in a house. We came up with that concept of embed the link and then you click on the link. There were others. I'm not claiming a first on that one, but it was particularly useful, and these sort of like mini self-contained websites, which we'll go into later, but we've got a product called Message Bubbles, which is now an entire instant messaging service based on the same thing. So you don't need any applications. So constant innovation from the start, seeing how it could integrate better, make it easier to integrate, but most of all be usable to the man and woman on the street, because that is the client of the people we serve. The estate agencies, the banks, the schools, and the various other sectors that we serve. So we've then started to focus exclusively on, first of all, text messaging, because we took a stepping stones approach. So in the very early days, we were purely a text message play, but we realized that simply delivering messages wasn't good enough, and we needed to become a platform that actually did intelligent things like surveys, like appointment reminders, which are messages that you can say today, remind Simon to get his Deliveroo tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
okay. And then our service takes care of it. So we kind of grew the intelligence on the tech side. But of course, as smartphones came along and the evolution of all the other mobile communication, we then started integrating in all of these other channels as well to get to the point where we are today, which is this comprehensive service.
And the reason we love all that, of course, Brad, is it's the staggering nature of open rates, isn't it? That engagement level that you get with text messaging and everything else in comparison to everything else. I know you're layering in WhatsApp and everything else, which it'd be interesting to get your view. Actually, does it even have a higher engagement level than text? But certainly that was the big attraction, wasn't it? Is it largely, if you send a text message, it's going to get read.
Massively. Can I give some stats that we have here? Right. So for text messages, there's a 95% read rate. Okay. Now that is actually people getting a message and reading it. If you compare that with email has at best between 15 to 25%, because a lot of emails you want to read what's there. But a click-through rate on email, on average, is only 2.5%. So you've got a 95% read as a 2.5%. But of course, the value is that with email, normally, people have emails on phones, but normally you need to be at your PC. You need to have gone to your email software. You need to open that up to actually read it. Okay, you're relying on someone doing something to get that message. The value of SMS is that it's pushed to them. So email, you can almost see as them pulling the message to them, but text messaging, you're pushing it instantly to that person, and it's there on their phone with a little alert saying you've got a message to read. So it's far more real time. But in addition to that, with the text message and the WhatsApp and some of these other instant messaging platforms, you can actually see whether it's actually successfully delivered and whether it's been opened in many cases, more of the instant messaging than the text. But that allows you to be intelligent. If it's something urgent, for example, you're in the middle of a progression and you urgently need an identity document sent back, and perhaps there's a time constraint with the financial deal or something that you're doing, then you're able to say, okay, look, I haven't been able to receive to get them on this particular channel, and either flag it up to someone to try and call them or to phone their spouse or something, or else you can have that built into the system where you can try alternative ways. So the advantages of having that sort of push and that instant read over and above all of that high readability is the fact that you can be intelligent and flexible, and you can customize it. So you can say, talk to Simon, but then if Simon's not there, perhaps get to FAM or someone else in the organization, and have the correct name and everything else built in. So that's the beauty of it. And you're quite right, Simon. Initially, that the biggest single selling point of text messaging was the fact that it had this phenomenal read rate, and also very, very reliable delivery. Even if someone's out of signal on the tube or turn their phones off, it will get to them as soon as they turn it back on or get back into signal.
That's right, and I mean, look, I'm looking a bit shamelessly actually at my iPhone, showing I've got 13,000 unread emails in there. So, don't apologies to everyone who's still waiting for a response to those ones. There, it's probably those aforementioned Viagra ones we were talking about. Actually, Bradley. Actually, they're the ones I do know. Anyway, going. The free nature, of course, is that, look, the honest part about it is you do have to pay for text messages, don't you? And because the nature of emails has been free, it has led largely to them being abused. Obviously, sometimes with the best intentions. It's just an absolutely viable communication thing. But also, as well as we know, it has been used just to essentially spam there. Now, the thing that I like about you guys was that whereas a lot of people literally used to cash cow and treat this as a way of making margin, charging 10p plus and all the rest of it, you guys, as long as people were able to put a lot of volume with you, were able to knock that down to a really, really competitive level, weren't you?
Absolutely. Right from the start, we've had the strategy of going for value rather than just making high profits. And in fact, on the very rare occasion, if we can't see the way that a client will get a genuine value and a return on their investment with us, we will actually either advise them differently or perhaps say, perhaps a service in this particular use case isn't for you. You can get greater value in another way. It's very rare, but we will do that because we've always wanted to give that value back, make sure that we've got maximum utility, for the clients, and that they see a return on it, and that includes coming in at a very, very competitive rate. We are a platform, not a pipeline. So, we're not just a message delivery. We bring a lot of other intelligent processing around stuff that removes the grunt work from staff, makes staff more efficient, makes your sales progression more efficient, and all the rest of it. So there's a lot more that you're paying for than simply the message. So when you have a look at it in the round and the total offering, we are very, very, very lean and keen on our pricing, but it's because we know that if our clients are successful, they'll be our clients for a long time. We will be successful as well. We'll rather take a longer term view, grow with our clients, than to make short term quick sales, basically.
Well, look, I've never been able to see anyone who can undercut you guys properly while still delivering the same, as we said, the absolute essentials of reliability, support, and everything else. It's simply, it just doesn't go to be able to do that. So I can say that hand on heart from what I've seen. The key message here, though, as well, Brad, as much as anything, is not to go all sort of Batman on you, but with great power comes great responsibility, doesn't it? Because actually, if you have that, just because you have that ability to get into literally the palm of somebody's hand almost instantaneously, you need to guard that, very, very carefully, don't you? Because if you do get too overzealous and too spammy, you're going to lead to them not just unsubscribing, but actually thinking ill of the brand itself, aren't they, and wanting to distract themselves. So you have to be hyper relevant still when you're thinking about this stuff, don't you?
Absolutely. And of course, a poison pill takes out the entire water supply. So, it's in no one's interest. There are those players out there who do spamming and promote stuff that they know is untrue. We are very, very strict on it, not least of all because we also have some very highly, big name high street banking and financial institutions using us, as well as, schools and organizations that have data sensitivity and very sensitive to compliance by the rules and everything. So right from the start, always along the lines, we've complied with all the data processing, the GDPR, the ICSTIS guidelines. In fact, we're members of ICSTIS. We've fed into it. back in the founding days of the company, when the internet and all this communication was starting off. I was actually a founding signatory on the IETF, the organization that created the policy for the internet in this country as we know it. So, you know, we've been involved, with me personally, but as a company all the way along. You'll see on our website, we FSQS, member of the FSQS, which goes through various validations around us as well, and our compliance. And we've got built into our platform the regulatory, but also the good practice, the best practice approach. So, for example, people are able to reply stop to stop messages going to them, or stop all to prevent all messages going to them. We've got that compliance, and we've got the ability to feed that back into our clients' CRMs and databases as well. Internally, it's called blacklisting, and it's a service that we've supported almost from the start of the business. We take data security extremely seriously, and we have a huge focus around the security, but we also monitor for spammers, and it's built into our DNA, not just through our IT, but with the people, the staff, our support at all levels of the company. We're looking out for the people who are going to abuse the system and potentially place our reputation, or perhaps the reputation of the sector as a whole, in disrespect. So we focus on the value, we focus on the legitimate use, and we're not afraid to say no to clients who will abuse it.
You've got to be able to protect that avenue from your point of view and the wider client base. Sorry, you did cut up there at the minute. You fantastically turned into a bit of a pink Dalek. When I just wanted to just make sure I got that bit. When I asked you that, you've got to defend that kind of, make sure you don't, you don't become too spammy. You don't send stuff that isn't relevant. I missed your response to that. Do you mind just telling us again, just your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. We pay a lot of attention to it. We comply by all the regulations. I'd said that I'd myself become a founding member of the IETF in this country. We abide by EXTIS and all the best practice. We have a system built into our system, which is called the blacklisting system, which allows people to reply stop or stop all to prevent them getting further messages. We can feed that back into client CRMs and software, as well as deliver reports and these sort of more direct staff-to-staff support staff reporting on that.
That's perfect. Yeah, we got up to that. That's really good. So that, and actually you mentioned there, and of course that's where we spoke. The CRMs obviously as the, if you like, the gatekeepers of the contact data, with you aligned with the communication data. That's where it's at, isn't it? That's got to be where you've got a really sweet point. Absolutely,
yes. We're very easy to integrate with, and we do integrate with quite a lot of CRMs out there, and that integration is exactly what delivers the value, because it's that seamless usage from the CRM and the associated workflow for the business through us to the client communication, the people you are doing business with, to make that sale, to get that tenancy, to get that landlord, whatever it is you're trying to achieve in this particular communication stream. And it's that seamless integration to the end person, back into the business, back to the correct person in the business. So, for example, our two-way messaging, it's intelligent. It will route messages back to the person who's currently dealing with that conversation with that client. So if that conversation moves on to someone else, say you've progressed to the next department, it will move that conversation along as well. It keeps updating, keeps tracking it. So and that works with the software, with internal bespoke software that you might be developing, multi-channel. So you might have your CRM plus other aspects. So for example, you might have an in-house prop tech solution, but you might also be using Salesforce, for example, and both channels can integrate with us, and you get a single view of that conversation. You get a single moment of truth from us and our reports back, where you can see all the interaction with that particular person and see where you got to in the business and your ongoing open discussions. And that's also includes things like the automated things like surveys.
Excellent. Well, I've certainly seen that, just if you weren't the first person to integrate, you were certainly one of the very first to integrate us in the good old days. And I know you obviously got, you were able to do that same level of service with the other CRM. So that's really impressive. So give us an idea then how your service actually benefits both estate agents and letting agents then, Brad. What's some of the different ways that agents use your services?
Right. So first of all, the most popular use is the automation side, things like the appointment reminders. In fact, I would venture to say that about a good third of our traffic are either viewing confirmations, which go out immediately to say, thank you very much for doing the appointment. Here's your property details, and giving all the relevant information, and also the reminders, because the reminders are absolutely key to being able to drive your sales. Did not shows are a nightmare for agencies, and you've gone to all of that effort and all of that cost to set the deal up to that point, and then someone forgot because they were distracted by their cats getting sick. And the way our reminders work, if I can just elaborate a little bit on that point, is it goes out because we've got such a long history of being in this sector. We have been able to work out the best timings for a reminder to go out. You want it to go out close enough to the time so people don't forget again, but far enough ahead so that people can do things like arrange a babysitter, get the cat to the vet, or whatever it is, take time off work. So that the automation side of it, and like I said, I've mentioned the surveys, and we've got other automation capabilities in our system for getting more information about a property, or asking for directions and things like that. That automation side is perhaps the single biggest benefit that clients see immediately. But once they've been with us for a while, what they start realizing is that we can take the grunt work out of a lot of the staff daily jobs. It's not getting rid of staff, it's freeing them up to do the things that people are best at, the human interaction, bringing their expertise, their knowledge, their experience to their job, and perhaps taking on wider roles. We get rid of the grunt work of that underlying communication, making certain someone's gotten the message, making certain they get the next step of the process in place if needed. So for example, to gather documentation for upfront pre-vetting and IDNV and things like that. And with that, the two-way messaging, as you've alluded to previously, Simon, is absolutely key. So it helps drive that workload, drive from the leads, the pre-qualifications, getting documentation, mortgage, conveyancing. All of those processes involve an interaction with people, and then getting a reply back and doing something meaningful with it in your business to get them to the next stage to drive your sales and your lettings through. So we have a number of technologies that can help with that. For example, we have a product called Reach Out, where you can send documents to someone, goes to their phone as well as via email if you want, and you can request documents from them. So for example, if you need a selfie for identification, or perhaps you want them to return or take a photo of a signed document, or images of the boiler leak that they've complained about, or you're constructing a virtual walkthrough and you need a few more images, say of the living room, or there's been requests, you can send out the request, you can receive it back, and our system takes care of all of that, doing the request, gathering the information, and delivering it back to you where you need it. So it can be in the form of email, it can be delivered into a particular system you've integrated with, or you can be logging onto our website and just downloading it like you would, say, Google Drive. We've got the picture messaging, which is great for showing people what properties are. It's a beautifully presented, branded brochure of the property with all the images, the text, all the stuff you would say get on a portal, like the unmentionable big one that's made itself so popular with everyone this year. All of that good stuff, number of bedrooms, prices, price reductions, alerts around prices changing. That's the daily bread and butter of a estate agency, and we take that pain away. We make it simple and easy because we are integrated with your feeds, we integrated with your CRM. We can get that message, that presentation out to the clients. You just do a simple property match, for example, of a new property you've taken on, and immediately you've just reached everyone who's looking for that type of property in their pocket, and then they can do calendar requests. And then we've got other really nice to have value adds as well, like we can deliver beautiful business cards to people on their phones. If you've got an appointment, it gives all the details, where you're going to. You can click on your Google Maps for navigation, but it also says who your negotiator is. It's got a little image of that negotiator, so someone knows the face of the person they're meeting with, a little bio. There can even be a video introduction that negotiator can do, so it's that sort of added value as well that allows you to give a much more personalized, better brand awareness as an agency to your clients. That's the helicopter view.
Well, I know you do a huge amount, and I mean, certainly, I remember we did a no-show calculator in our old days, and once you look, looking at actually how much it cost with, a few phones back to the office, the phone calls back to you to find out, the phone calls out to find out where they are, why they're not turned up, the time spent, the time in petrol, and it worked out as like over 30 quid, and that was going back years and years ago there. And for the sake of a couple of text message reminders, I remember you and I worked on a project, I think it was for Robinson Jackson, and it drastically cut the amount. So I think it was over 90% of the time. Do that simple notification doesn't mean that they weren't, that some of them were still being moved or, not attending, but they knew in advance, didn't they? So you got all that time back and and everything else. And that was fun. That's just fantastic. And it's just what you expect these days, isn't it?
Yes. And thanks for reminding me of that, actually, because I remember the return on investment calculation that we did. And it turned out that if we saved just 2 appointments that result in a sale from a did not show, so the appointment reminders did their stuff, you just needed to save 2 in 1 year to have paid for something like the next 5 years worth of our total service. So it's brilliant.
And then talking about, what the lovely thing about you're talking about here is in terms of being able to build this into process, automation and everything else there. So much of what we do and some of the very best agencies I've said have processes for most elements, even more so in the lettings and the property management world. So if you can just think, actually, at this stage, SMS Speedway can fit in with that methodology being sent out. You can really build up quite a customer service journey, can't you, that delivers time and time again.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of concern about the new world, how we're going to change, in this new virtual online way of doing things with virtual tours. What's going to happen next year? What's the future going to bring? And key to all of that would be maintaining your flexibility as a business, and making sure that workflow is as efficient and as automated as possible, so that you're getting the best value from your staff, you're making the best use of your local knowledge, you're able to present yourself in the best way, your brand is solid and on message and customized to people. So individual people feel this company knows who I am. I'm not talking to some anonymous help desk. I'm not talking to some automated service. They know who I am. They know what I'm wanting. They will find me the property. They'll give me the service. It's going to be key. You cannot go wrong putting investment into that if you're an agency right now.
Perfect. Look, you said earlier you're a platform, not a pipeline. What does that actually mean?
A pipeline simply takes a message and delivers it. So it's sort of like the postal service. You write a letter, you put it on an envelope, you say where you want it to go, and it just gets to the person. There's nothing about what's in that envelope. There's no intelligence. A platform gets a messaging request. It says, Simon wants to view this house on Friday at 2:00. And then we say, okay, we need to remind him, but we need to send him property details. He needs to know who he's meeting. He needs to be able to reply back, to be able to say, actually, I can't make this appointment. And when you reply back, the agency needs to know who you are and what it's in connection with. Otherwise, if you get a whole lot of messages that, from 10,000 people out there, you have no idea what it's about, and if it's with you or your colleague, or even relevant to your company. So by keeping that direct one-to-one intelligent communication between the negotiator or the person in the agency who's talking to someone about a particular issue, and you've got the context of it. It's about a viewing, it's about a boiler leak, it's about another issue, a landlord wanting to confirm your prices or whatever. It allows you to then be able to deal with that efficiently and in a very high quality manner in terms of customer service and your brand. That's what a platform delivers. It gives all of that extra where it knows what the communication is, rather than saying, oh, right, okay, you've made an appointment, here's a message about the appointment, and that's it. Or here's a bit about the property, and the system has no idea, no understanding what that message is about. So our platform works with your agency, with your software, in turning those messages into something that's of value. It's a proper communication, it's interactive. That's the difference between platform and pipeline. Nearly everyone out there, if I can trash talk competition, nearly everyone out there is just, well, you've got your, I won't mention competitive names, because I don't want to be sued, but there are some huge players out there that do nothing but deliver a message at very, very cheap rates, but they do nothing with it. They just pump the message across, and that's it. If you want any intelligence, you have to build it in at your cost. It doesn't help you as a business. It doesn't enhance your brand. It doesn't enhance your communication. It doesn't add value to your workflow or your staff, or give you much of a return on investment.
All that good work you may do at the front end, in front, in the living room with your clients, just goes out the window if you let it down with the communication tool. Yeah,
it does. Yeah. You might as well burn the money.
Because you're a platform, Brad, obviously a key part of, as I would understand it, a platform's responsibility is to handle and facilitate integrations. What's your approach in terms of integrations then? Do you have, like many do these days, open APIs? What's your approach? Absolutely.
We've got a very comprehensive set of APIs. The focus around our integration is to make it as easy as possible for developers. We have a huge investment locked up in our platform that, with a few simple integrations to us, immediately gets added to the integrating platform. All of that intelligence, all the value we bring becomes your value if you perhaps a CRM, for example, that's integrating with us, or you're an in-house platform that's being developed for a particular company. You immediately gain the value of everything that we've built, but our focus has been on, it has to be very simple. So we support all the standard interfaces. We've got REST, we've got HTTPS, to give some of the buzzwords. We've even got, for more secure systems, perhaps those that have client details or credit card numbers or something, but still need to get messaging out, that sits behind a firewall. We've got an email-based integration as well that can find its way through a network security using standard email transfer that often is shut off to any other form. So with, say, anyone else who doesn't have that, you simply wouldn't be able to build mobile communications into that platform. With us, we have a way of preserving your security and still using us in not just a one-way, but a two-way manner, and fully branded. And then we also have, for people who legitimately use bulk communications, we've also got file transfers and actually direct database connections as well. So we run a very, very wide range of easy, simple to use, and we supply sample code and help. And of course, we've got our helpful staff that you can phone and ask for help, or
and they're very good, Brad. I mean, I know from my previous how easy it was, but I also know you dealing with other companies, that you facilitate that, because obviously it's in your interest to make that happen. I suppose this is one for kind of, we're in a slightly different one, suppliers wanting to actually integrate with you in the industry. Are they able to ballpark how long an integration should work? I appreciate it, it's how long is a piece of string, but to get basic integration to use you as a communications tool, if they had the resource on that side, are we talking days, weeks?
Yeah, we say on average it should take you about 3 days to, if you've got all the hooks and the places, that's a technical term, by the way. It's nothing to do with whale style predilections. But if you've got the coding hooks there, the places in your code lined up where you know you want to communicate, it's a simple call most of the time, just 1 or 2 lines of coding instruction to ask for a delivery request, or to get a view of the logs, or to change a message timestamp that's secure out there. It's very, very simple to do. So we reckon it should take probably about half a day to a day of actual coding work and integrating with us. And then obviously you want your testing around it. So another day after that. And the day before would be setting up your account and getting the API documentation loaded. It should be around that. In practice, a lot of people, when they start using it, they start realizing all the other places they want to build it in, or we part of a bigger development process. So it can take longer, but that's at the client's choice, because they're developing or they want to add extra stuff. But at a basic level, you can be up and running in 3 days. On our site, obviously, to start using us, you can be up and running in minutes.
I was going to say, that's really important to point out, that we're talking there about suppliers. From agents' point of view, yeah, you can get up and live the same day very easily, can't you?
Yeah, very much.
So obviously we've spoke about, look, you're one of those suppliers that actually deals with every part of the demographic and agent, one office agents, corporates, franchise groups, everything else. Have you, because of that, because of having to deal with that wide thing, have you had to come up with just a one-size-fits-all approach, or can you still be customizable and match the intricate requirements and be a bit more turnkey?
That's an excellent question, Simon. We're fully customizable. So everything from our billing system, and no one likes to talk about billing, but let's address the issue, the elephant in the room, because it's crucial to the organization side. You have to be able to allocate your costs correctly. So our billing system supports everything from simple individual branches or simple organizations, mom and pop shops as they're referred to, all the way up to multi-brand, enterprise class organizations, and actually franchises as well. We fully support, and multi-brand within franchises. So what you get is you can consolidate into single departments. You can have individual billing, and we have very, very comprehensive reports and breakdowns of the traffic and where the cost should be allocated. We also fully support purchase orders and tagging each item. If it needs to have an item for reconciliation in your accounting software, we can supply it in spreadsheet format, CSV format. You can view it online. It's a very flexible structure. And then once you've got that organization structure set up with us, that's correct for your business, then you can start slotting in your accounts and your sub accounts, and brand each of them specifically to their needs. So you can have multiple individual branches under a certain brand. You can even have multiple departments within a branch under each brand, and it scales up and down accordingly. It just needs to be configured for the way your company works.
And again, that's really important, Brad, isn't it? Because the complexity of the way the agency is going, it's not getting simpler. It's fragmenting. There's loads of different models, hybrid, everything else there. So that is really vitally. But I suspected you were going to say that, but I wanted to ask the question anyway. And Brad, just looking at the wider picture, let me rather than that fantastic kerfuffle hat, let me ask you to put your futurologist hat on. Where do you see the future of communication going? And let's talk about it in the near term rather than obviously off when we're finally on jetpacks and everything else. And crucially, how is SMS Speedway going to fit into that kind of vision as well going forwards?
I think it's very clear that there's one word that's going to be what everything pivots around, and that word is intelligence. I think, people demand more and more personalization and more convenience, that your communication, your interaction with someone like a estate agent or financial services or school, that communication fits in with you at your convenience, and it has to be intelligent and it has to be helpful. From an agency's point of view, you want to be able to offload a lot of, say, the initial inquiries or the progression to make sure that people get the information they are wanting when they want it, 24 hours a day, no matter where they are in the world, because we're going to become more and more and more global as well. And the drive between globalization and being able to work with partners, in some parts of a state agency right now, people are outsourcing things like viewings to suppliers who do viewings and virtual tours, and there's a lot of that in outsourcing that's going on, or working with partners, working sometimes with competitors, and being able to have the flexibility of working and adapting your business in the way that best suits your market at that time, but still being able to have that single point of truth, still being able to see where in the business someone has progressed to and being able to progress them further. That's going to be key. So in the very short term, actually, we're going to see far more use of things like artificial intelligence, and SMS Speedway does have an AI system that's coming. Automation of things like identity verification. We do have an identity product that's launching very shortly, and I will put in a shout out for Emily's story, which I would advise everyone to keep an eye out for, launching on the 1st of December. It tells the story of a young estate agent getting her first job in an estate agency. It's full of twists. It's an interesting spin. I hope it's enjoyable. But it's centered around identity checking, and why we need to have that, because even in the pandemic days of today, you need someone to be able to verify who they are from their mobile phone. They have to be able to sitting at home. You don't want people to have to go into physical premises, and that's only going to increase. Likewise, things like automated access to properties, verification of who the person is who's meant to be arriving. So you don't have someone saying, I'm Simon Whale, but really he's, Skippy down the road who's got a man with a van and he's hooking up the television set in the back door.
I get that a lot.
Exactly. There's only one whale, so you need to know what he looks like, and obviously multi-channel as well. We've seen an explosion of different competing platforms. We've got Twitter direct messaging, we've got Instagram, we've got Snapchat, we've got Signal, we've got Telegram. I could WhatsApp. There's such a long list. It's going to get even more, and dare I say it, as regulatory action happens against these giants and forces the breakup and the separation, you're going to see it fragmenting more, as well as things like your up and coming remote viewing people and virtual tours and that kind of stuff. They've all got their communication going as well. So the ability to go cross channel, but obviously as a company you just want to be able to communicate with someone. You don't want to care what they're using about. So that's a focus for us as well, is to support these ongoing channels as well. So intelligence, identity checking, and I would also say the convenience of not having any apps. And this is a direct pitch for our Message Bubbles product, which is launching next year, which is instant messaging straight in someone's browser. You just get a link, you click through, and it's information that goes with you from person to person down the road, from your lead generation and your early upfront document acquisition all the way down to your conveyancing and your mortgaging. It's an ask once, use many times model.
Well, clearly you aren't going to dare launching it anywhere other than here, are you?
Exactly. Absolutely. It's kerfuffle the whole way.
By the way, you had me all the way up until intelligence in that last bit, but I got the rest of it. Okay, Brad, that's absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed talking. So let me just summarise as best as I can as we're making notes here. Key takeaway: great communication is essential to great customer service. That's clear, isn't it? Number
Absolutely,
one.
yeah.
Number two, everyone has a messaging system, messaging method that needs you to have a highly compatible communications platform, which again is what you're talking about here. And then finally, a key element is having the two-way communication, obviously with reliable delivery tracking and everything, vital to progressing the customer's journey. Those Absolutely. 3 elements are what I've taken from today is, I think, key elements of what SMS Speedway is about and what sets you apart from the competition.
Absolutely, Simon. I couldn't have summarized it better myself.
Cool. Okay. Well, and then because we haven't finished there. Oh no.
Right.
You've been lovely, haven't you, Brad? I mean, you're a lovely fellow anyway. But tell me as well, you've got a lovely deal for our Kerfuffle members as well that you've been kind enough to look after them with.
Yeah. So we are dispensing with all the setup fees, and we're also giving 1,000 free texts. This is up to the 31st of December. The texts must be used within the first 3 months. And combined with that, obviously, you get full access to all our support, and you're just the same as any other paying customer, even though you're getting such a great free deal through Kerfuffle.
Well, that's great. I mean, and so people looking for 2021, how do you step ahead of the competition? If communication isn't top of your list, I don't know what you're doing, to be honest. Brad, what's the notice period? How long do people sign up for in terms of what's their commitment?
Do you know, Simon, we are so confident about the value that we return to clients. We don't tie people in to year-long contracts or whatever. You're free to come, you're free to go as you please.
Well, I was hoping that was what you were going to say, because what I was going to lead up to then was I was hoping it was going to be at least short. So this is just a no-brainer, isn't it? They can no setup. We hate setup fees. Setup fees here at Kerfuffles. That's brilliant. And getting rid of setup fees. They can test your service. They can look at where they can put those processes and automation in. For God's sake, speak to Brad before the end of the year, whilst things start to quieten down, and take advantage of what this man's learned over 2 decades. Brad, that's really, really kind of you. Thank you for putting together that package for our clients. And I just want to reiterate, look, as much as it's my old company, Repeat, I know Brad works with CFP and a whole host of different CRM providers. So please do drop him a line. Drop him a line directly online. You can't miss him. Me and you are bouncing around all over Twitter daily. I know I enjoyed watching your stuff there, Brad. And of course, go to their landing page on Kerfuffle. Always have a good look at the company there. And there's an I'm interested, contact me button. You press that and magic happens in the background, and Brad will come back to you on any channel you want, I assume. I don't know if that's true.
Absolutely.
Brad, thank you once again. I'm not going to do it today, but I do. One thing I didn't know about you that came back in the bio here was I didn't know that you've written numerous short stories. And indeed radio plays and other fictional works. Other fictional works. Are you gearing yourself up to write my autobiography? Because it sounds like we should have a further conversation here.
That would be stepping up a whole new level to do your auto. But I've done short stories, radio plays. I've actually written, directed, and produced 3 short movies as well. So,
that's brilliant. Yeah. I tell you what, if you're doing my life story, it's not a short story, my friends. We're talking. No. Hey, Brad. Love catching up with you as ever. Obviously, we'll continue to do it. Make sure you keep us up to date with all these innovations and anything else you've got going on. Once more, great to have you on the platform, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you very much.